I've been overwhelmed with so many ideas and so much clarity. And I was calling it downloads, and what came to me was that what I'm receiving is clarity. And it's just as if this idea of the matrix is there, and you just see how it's put together, and you get even more clear and more clear and more clear. But so much comes at once that I get overwhelmed. I'm like, oh, I've got a video idea for this, I've got a video idea for that, I've got a video idea for that, and class ideas and blah blah blah. And so I was feeling a little bit shaken up this morning, so I thought, hey, why don't I just come live and see if I can hit some things that may never see the light of day, but they'll see the light of day in some way. Because that's one thing that I understand, is that it isn't just my experience of this clarity coming through. There's lots of people that are bringing this clarity through, and I recommend you going out and finding those mirrors as well, and passing and shining those mirrors out into the world. Let's make love and unconditional love and paradigm B and outside the matrix and love, unity, collaboration, and kindness. Let's make these things popular. And that's all we're doing with each other, is mirroring for each other. I'm a mirror for you, you're a mirror for me. Everything's a mirror, mirroring back to ourselves. And we can just see in paradigm A that it is just a mirror that just keeps reflecting uncool things and fear-based things. And what that means is, doesn't mean getting rid of fear. That's not it. It is the fact that we don't need to be fear-led. And this go right into the first one with the idea that's been coming up, is how we've adopted slogans, paradigm A slogans, like no pain, no gain, freedom isn't free. Oh gosh, I can't think of many more, but I'm sure I'll have videos on about this. But we hold on to these ideas. Better safe than sorry. This is a really good slogan, and they're just ingrained in our consciousness, and we create our reality, and they become the relativity point for which we see the world. And so we don't see anything otherwise. We just keep contributing to this fear-led paradigm. And we can let go of those. We can change those slogans for ourselves. In joy, I thrive. Gosh, what were some others that were coming through that were really strong? They're not coming to me, but the Beatitudes are slogans in cahoots with what is. That is accepting that we're all mirrors, and we can go to a collaborative state rather than a competitive state with each other. Life is the gift of experiencing you. It is taking the focus off of trying to be an identity base. The thing is that once you really realize that life is the gift of experience, the thing that you will be looking for is how to experience this in the most beautiful way. And in Lenzifarianism, we explore the best possible ways that we can go from the identity-based being nice to being sincere, and being kind. And kindness feels good. Sincerity feels good. So it's me wants me, the me inside of me, not the I, but the me inside of me wants to experience these things, wants to experience joy, experience thriving rather than survival. That's what the fear-led system has us believing, is that we must find out how to survive when there's a whole nother reality where we thrive. So changing the slogans, looking for the slogans that are pulling us back, and then constantly reflecting those slogans into our life, because that's the thing. Paradigm A is just popular. That's it. It has no more credibility in the world. It's fear-based led living, and it's just popular. So we just need, that's all this is making this movement, this unconditional movement that leads us to oneness, that leads us to presence, and make it popular. And it's also not that hard. the only thing that makes this paradigm hard is getting out of the old paradigm and flushing those stories out of our systems. But for some people, that's going to be super easy. Like, you just recognize it, you have the clarity, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll just stop doing that. It's like, you know, you keep putting your hand on the burner and it gets hot, and then you recognize, oh, all I have to do is take my hand off the burner, poof, you're done. And some people are going to go through a story and have to rip through stories and entangle themselves. But the best and the strongest position to hold is to find slogans that take you in the direction that you want to be going. Otherwise, you're chained to fear-based, fear-led living and constantly looking over your shoulder, you know, what it is. Oh, and that was a little silly. It just came up for me. That came to me is, for these are the narcissist hunters out there, that narcissists want to make you into a villain. So once you make narcissist into the villain, what does that make you? The narcissist wants to make you into a villain. So once you make the narcissist into a villain, what does that make you? That's pretty deep. All right, so let's focus on, or another idea is just the simplicity of paradigm A versus paradigm B, and that's why paradigm B became clear. It is recognizing that it's just another way of seeing the world. Paradigm A wants you to believe that reality is like this. It's linear. When you find out that you have to go perpendicular to get away from that idea. So the idea kind of comes from, here's one example of that, is George Carlin's fighting for peace is like screwing for virginity. So there is a movement, there's the anti-war movement, which underneath it has the same kind of antagonistic regard for the world and how to put the world together, that they see peace as the absence of war, and it's not. Peace is its own thing. It's perpendicular. Peace is not the absence of war. So it's not war and no war. It is perpendicular. So the idea is that if you want to see peace in the world, you find peace within yourself. You find peace. You become the mirror then of peace, and you reflect it back out in what you say. You don't have to teach peace. You reach peace. And so the world views, it's like, where are you? Just check in with yourself. Where are you right now? What are you reflecting back? Are you trying to fight the system? Are you trying to fight within paradigm A? And that's why paradigm B, it seems kooky, seems cartoonish, like, oh, we can't have unconditional love. We can't have unity. We can't have collaboration. We can't have kindness. Well, of course not. If you're under the impression that paradigm A is the way that we need to base our reality off of, then no, you can't do it. But you might have a little inkling that something inside your soul wants to be somewhere else. It wants to do something else. Then you start to realize that we can look at it differently. And so it's the idea is, then start looking for those things. Start looking for the slogans. Start looking for the ideas that point you to that. Here was something that was great that came up in a session with people. We were talking about boundaries. And I related with somebody in there that when I started on my path, I want, like, the spiritual journey, I was like, I want to be like Jesus. I don't want boundaries. And I had a mentor that was telling me that boundaries are this great thing. And I was like, no, I'm not going to have any boundaries. And that was true and not true. But I want to tell you the process of what actually happened was that I made this mantra for myself that I wanted to be like Jesus and I wanted to not have boundaries. Well, the circumstances in my life showed me that I needed, that I was attached to things codependently and narcissistically that weren't in calibration, they weren't in harmony. And so I had to learn boundaries. So not only did I embrace boundaries, but I began facilitating workshops on boundaries to help people to understand boundaries. But here's kind of the process that I found with boundaries was that we start off, a lot of people don't even understand boundaries. I didn't understand boundaries. When my mentor was telling me you need boundaries, I was like, I don't even know what a boundary really is. And then we start to realize, and we get concepts of boundaries, that you just speak your truth. So if you don't want somebody asking you out, or let's say that somebody's just comes up and wants to ask you out on a date, a boundary can say, no, I'm not into that. But oftentimes people will get the number to appease, or they'll say I'm married or whatever else, a weasel out of it. And it's like the strongest position is what you want, which is the answer is no. And it's a complete sentence. So when we first start doing boundaries, it's like we bring this toolbox of voluntary tools to our daily life. We start to realize, okay, I want to implement boundaries into my life. They become a voluntary position. And then eventually, boundaries, you just grow into it. You grow into who you are. You grow into your true self. And then boundaries just become involuntary, an involuntary function in that. So what does that mean? What is involuntary and voluntary? Well, just think of your breathing. So if you're not thinking about your breathing, your body just breathes. That's called an involuntary function. But then let's say that I want to do a meditation. And the meditation is I'm going to be paying attention to my breathing. I'm going to be controlling my breathing. That's a voluntary response. So now I'm going, okay, I want to take a big deep breath in. So the voluntary is saying, I'm volunteering for this. And so that's when I'm going to spit that out. So that's the process of boundaries, is you learn about boundaries, you learn about the concept of boundaries. So then you voluntarily start taking steps to set those boundaries, and you'll talk about it. You'll be like, oh yeah, this person did this and I said this, and you start to realize, and then you're going to have a voice in your head that says, did I push too far? Did I push too little? And you're working that out to find your own balance point, your own harmonizing, and that kind of becomes a little bit of the story. So your story is talking about how you're voluntarily getting involved with these boundaries. But eventually, what ends up happening is boundaries just become a natural part of your life. And you don't have to stand there going with, like a shield, I'm ready with a boundary. I'm ready with a boundary. I've got a boundary ready in my pocket. And I'm ready to say this. You'll see, you could look at memes that speak to this, that speak to that stage in setting boundaries. It's like, I give no fucks, or, that is that space of voluntary. But eventually you just become the boundary. Your inner self is your guidance. And once you realize that is what we're trying to get to, is that we become ourself. We're no longer coming from, I want this and I need this and I need this. It's the me. It's the self. Me wants this. Me wants peace. Me wants contentment. Me wants joy. Me wants kindness. And then what emanates from that it's just involuntary. Whatever you say, you're saying the right moments, and that it's a truth. You're being authentic, and you don't have to think about it. You're no longer thinking about that person you had to set a boundary with. That's the beautiful part. That's when you go through life and you're just moving through life and not being affected by all of these other stories and narratives that are going on. It's like, I know which way I'm going, and I got this. So let's go to quantum versus linear. So this idea of quantum has been coming clearer in my life. And paradigm A is a linear function. Paradigm A is fear-based. And in that linearness, we hold on desperately And what we're just trying to do is survive. We're just trying to survive in this linear landscape. And then we're talking about history, and we're talking about politics and what a woman should be, what a man should be. And it's us in that reflective state of trying to parent the other. We're trying to tell each other how we should be. You're a man, so you need to be like this. A woman should be like this. And quantum is when that dualistic, we don't need conservative versus liberal. We don't need man versus woman. It's all entangled. And then bring in the superposition of the now. You bring in presence. So our what emanates from us is not some regurgitation of some kind of dualistic stance that we hold on to. It is an authentic expression of beauty, something, a perspective that is a higher reflection of a more beautiful, potent point that leads to love, unity, collaboration, and kindness. So we literally, when people are talking about simulation theory and they're talking about the matrix, and that's what's so exciting today, because it doesn't matter if you put a spiritual, if we believe, the spiritual ego believes that everything needs to have a spiritual undertone, and in truth we can look at it as a function. You can actually see that we're inside of a matrix, and it's like, what do we want to be attached to within that? And how quantum, we understand quantum mechanics, we understand the idea of superposition, but that we don't know exactly what is going to show up. So something shows up, it doesn't show up until it's observed. And that's the way of living in paradigm B, is that we're not living from regurgitating the past or being hopeful about the future. We are emanating from what comes through us from the presence, from presence. So we are quantum computers. We just need to adjust our minds and calibrate ourselves within our feelings, emotions, calibrate ourselves to that dynamic. And we can recognize that the thing that was educated out of us, everybody says our educational system is screwed up. It's because we were educating for linear thinking. There's a great study about how kindergartens, the same group of kindergartners, were tested for their divergent thinking, and then by high school they had lost their ability to divergent think. Because what it is it's saying, this is the system that we want to educate you to. We want to create this. We created all these ideas to make you feel safe, and to just survive in this. And so what did we lose? We lost our imagination. We lost our sense of wonder in the world, and we have to regain that. And that's the fun part, is we can regain that sense of wonder. Where is it? Where did it go? I recommend the movie, if you want to understand it and go into it. Mr. Majorium's Wonder Emporium, just a wonderful exploration of the idea of wonder. And if you can go in there and not look at it from a conceptual, but feel into it. What if you were the person that was a linear thinking? There's a character played by Jason Bateman that is the linear thinker. And so he can't see the magic that's going on in this toy store. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we get into that quantumness, back to that childlike behavior? And it's even it's in the Bible. I tell you, as if you don't become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. What is the kingdom of heaven? It is the quantum state. It is wonder. Oh, it all comes back together, and that's the coolest thing. So, and then I've been talking a lot about the mirror. And once you really recognize that everybody, and this is the beautiful thing about Chelsea and I and our relationship, is that, that we live together, and we love each other, but then we get pricked by each other, our positions and where we see each other. And then after, we have just grown so much in seeing that, geez, my point isn't tried to get her point to be wrong. My point is that she's reflecting something back in for me, and that that is useful, that there's a contradiction within me. If I'm feeling pricked, or I like to say prickled within me, I want to meet that prickledness. And that's where I have come up and I've shared videos on everything works out for me. And I take that into a neutral state if I'm pricked. It's just happened the other day, where I sensed some prickleness in me, and I just went immediately to, I'm not going to create a story out of the prickledness, I'm just going to meet it. So find the prickledness, sit with it. That's an emotion in my wording, unconscious, and then I get my mind to a neutral state. Everything works out for me. That's all I wanted to do, and that quiets the voice. That is the ego mind. That's the one that wants to analyze everything, diagnose everything. And I quiet that mind, and then I feel the emotion. I sit with the emotion, and then clarity springs up from that. And so once we recognize that everybody's just mirroring back to us, we can start telling a different story. People who enter the victimhood mentality. Now, this is different than being a victim. You can be a victim, but a victim mentality is using your when that victim happened to create a survive mechanism, and that survival mechanism is fear-based. And it is, how do you know you're in that? Well, you will regurgitate stories about, let's say, how horrible your childhood, and if you're really in a bad state of the hood that you live in, this victim state, you are diagnosing it. And the thing that you're going to want to share with everybody is how bad, it's all suffering comparison, how bad your situation is. And then the next time that you meet up with those people that you've told this victim story to, then you will have even more specifics and articulated it even better. And you can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And all you're doing is comparing suffering. So we can break free of that. One great way of doing that is to recognize that's what you're doing, and then just broaden it. It's not like you're saying that you have to erase your childhood. You can always share, I had a very rough childhood, and that's a broad thing. You're speaking to your experience, but you're not carrying that experience as a badge. It is you're realizing that it's a mirror. That your experience, all my experiences from my childhood, I had lots of things to complain about my parents and how I was raised, what they could have done better, as I learned that I could have done better with my daughter. Why didn't they do that? Well, after time, I realized they're just mirrors. They were doing exactly what they knew they could do in that moment. Once I truly understood this, it was a huge relief off my back. It's just like, and then I can love them. I can love them because there's that space. And the only thing that held me from loving them was the story inside my head that I was a victim. And once I released that they were just simply mirrors reflecting to me, because I am who I am today, and I love me. Thank God. I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be, and yay for that. And that's what I want to take into my conversations now. I don't care about sharing unless it fits a story. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't have any attachment to the way I was raised, because all I see is it was a mirror to help me expand, not grow, because that's another thing we've been talking about. In quantum, we can get rid of the idea of growth. And the reason that we get rid of growth, the idea of growth, is that it activates the part of our mind that's going to analyze where we are and where other people are. So there's a relativity point behind that. And we think, from our little egoic perspective, that we can play God and understand where that is. Whereas if we just understand that the universe is expanding in consciousness, I'm becoming more clear, so I'm expanding in consciousness too. But here's the important part of having that as a mantra, is that I say, and I have no idea how consciousness expands. And what that does is it releases my attachment to needing to diagnose and analyze the world and analyze the people around me as if I'm ahead of them or behind them. It has nothing to do with that. If I'm going to say there's a process of growth or there's a process of expansion, here it is. You got to go deep to go high. You got to go low. You got to sit in and soak in the emotions. You got to do the inner work. You got to look at it from a different point of view. And then what's going to arise? It's buoyancy. That's what I'm going to feel. That's the tangible experience of waking up, is simply becoming a more buoyant person in the world. And what is that doing? Tangibly, what is that doing? When I become more buoyant, when I take on better, fresher, more beautiful perspectives, what does that bring into my life tangibly? It brings on these great feelings, and these are the great feelings of sincerity, joy, beauty, and all of these things are all vibrational that I can vibrate into the field. That is love and compassion. That is true love and compassion. So every time I go deep to get high, to get buoyant, what I'm doing is opening another pathway for more beautiful sensations to be reflected out into the world and in the form of compassion. And that's a really good idea to look or can see how the fear-based led paradigm is happening, is that the fear-based people need fear, the need to instill fear in people. So what they do is they disguise empathy as fear. They disguise empathy. So basically, they use fear to disguise empathy. So what they do is they go out and find all the scary things in the world, and they know which side you're on, or they don't care. They just want people always in a state of fear, because there's probably people that just know this, the people that want to keep this fear-based going. They get you attached to it, and then what they say is, put your empathy here. But what you're really doing is you're saying this side is the good side. So you're not actually putting compassion into the equation. Empathy is what helps us connect, and then compassion is the thing that births something new and beautiful. But if people are just constantly on Reddit or Threads or something, and they're just constantly being fed, I know where we need to put empathy, and I'm saying it because there's a righteous indignation behind it. There is an ignorance and an arrogance behind it, and it's just a trap. And we can let go of that trap once we recognize we're in that trap. Start reflecting beautiful things back into the world. Start reflecting, instead of like giving. You're sharing these things. You're loving these things. You're liking these things. You're commenting on these things, and you're growing this fear-based reality into existence. So that's why I see, there's so many powerful people out there, and I'm like, why aren't these people extraordinarily, these mirrors can mirror in something much more beautiful, but people are still just so, it's like a moth to a flame. It's like, stop going into the flame. It's not going anywhere. You're just trying to keep alive a fear-based and a fearless reality. So let's move on to that. So this all leads into the idea of dynamic beliefs versus static belief systems. So in the fear-based idea, it's grab onto a belief and then make it true. So one of the ridiculous slogans is, If you don't believe in anything, you'll fall for anything. Like, that is the perfect slogan that puts people into this need to hold on to beliefs. It isn't bad to have beliefs. It's just your ability to be able to change your beliefs. That's it. And that's a dynamic belief system. So what's interesting about it, and I was really trapped in this, is here's a great trap. Liberal, conservative. It is, you need to figure out where you are in this, and then you need to raise it. You got to get a symbol for it. You got to put it out into the world. And what you recognize is you're being cataloged when you do this. You're being cataloged into, this is who I am, and then I need to fight for this. That's exactly the trap of the fear-led paradigm. We don't have to be there. So it's like, I used to be like, okay, well, somebody asks, what do I say? And it's like, I realize I don't have to say anything until the moment arises. I can have dynamic belief systems, and then if somebody came, and I don't talk about politics, and because I recognize that there's hardly anybody that has any big ideas around politics. Everything is just regurgitating slogans from side to side. But then somebody was very forceful. I met somebody new, and I was just kind of stuck. And they're like sitting there kind of wanting me to tell them what I believe. And I didn't have the words, but I have the words now. It's, hey, if we're talking about politics, I just want to let you know that I have a dynamic belief system. So if we want to go down that path, I'm willing to go down that path with you. But you're just going to need to flush out what I believe, because I don't hold on to it. I'm able to let go of my beliefs when they no longer serve. And then I can show up for whatever happens in that moment. So we can actually create language that we can share with other people that tells them very clearly, this is the point of view I'm coming from. And so if you want to go that way, that's cool. But otherwise, it's not going to be good. You can see I don't have symbols on my vehicles. I don't wear symbols of the right-left continuum that I recognize as a trap of the fear-based matrix system. So this feels good. This feels like I feel lighter. I feel more buoyant. Just being able to get all this stuff out, because it's so beautiful that we have these mirrors. I'm seeing it in other people. I'm seeing people wanting to adjust their mirrors, to clean their mirrors, and to walk in this new way. So if these kind of ideas feel good to you, resonate, and even if they just resonate with you, but you don't get them, reach out to me. Put a comment in there that I have something I want to share, or I have something I want to look at. And I will DM you if I can. I don't know if I can do this on. Anyway, we'll figure out a way. Get in touch with me, and I want to explore these things. That is what is exciting for me, is that I know my mirror, and then what I'm seeing is I see people understanding all of this. They have different ways of looking at the same thing. It's like I kind of picture that idea of all the light, all the mirrors, and they're reflecting into one position. It's like there was a movie, Spies Like Us or something. No, it was something where the mirrors took the sun and they all shine into one space, and it heats up an element. Same principle. It's like paradigm A, that's what's happening. The mirrors are just illuminating one central point. And I'm just saying, let's do the unconditional love thing. Let's do the paradigm B thing. And I'm helping getting the mirrors, putting those mirrors together to get that reflection into that point. So it is uplifting to me to find out where you are in your path, how you might need some clearing of the lens or a shift of the lens. And even if you're shifting my lens to help me see it better, because that's the thing is I'm out there, when I'm out there watching videos, because that's what my algorithm is full of these new ideas, because the algorithm now is my servant. I have to have it to where these new ideas are coming up in my algorithm, and I'm giving those things love. I'm passing these ideas along, and I'm also taking their ideas and finding my other ways to look at it from a different perspective, and I'm sharing those out. And that's how our consciousness works. And then we're all just trying to get paradigm B to glow rather than paradigm A to glow. That felt really good. So anyway, I love you. I hope you have the most amazing day today. And shine on, baby. Shine on. Let's see, how do I? Oh. Yes.